The movie begins with Seo-yeon trudging along the province on her way to her family home. Along the way, she meets Sung-ho, a close friend who owns a strawberry farm. Then, he offers her a ride in his truck to her home. She then shared that she lost her phone on the train. Upon arriving, she enters the abandoned house. Amidst the clutter and darkness of the rooms, an eerie chill runs up her spine. She goes through the piles of junk around the house, hoping to find a phone. Fortunately, she finds a cordless phone. However, Seo-yeon speaks to a stranger who demands money in exchange for her phone. Later, when Seo-yeon picks up another call, she hears a distressed young woman on the other end who asks for help from her deranged mother. The stranger abruptly hangs up after mentioning a person named Soon-hee, leaving Seo-yeon confused about the situation. The following day, Seo-yeon visits her ill mother at the hospital. However, the air turns tense when her mother mentions her wish to be buried next to Seo-yeon's father. Having blamed her mother for her father's death, Seo-yeon becomes spiteful and leaves. After visiting her father's grave, Seo-yeon receives another call from the same woman. Sounding even more distressed, the stranger tells her that her mother is trying to kill her and gives her the address. However, when Seo-yeon reiterates that she's got the wrong number, the woman frustratingly hangs up. The atmosphere slowly turns heavy when Seo-yeon realizes that the address the woman had given is the house she resides in. Later that night, Seo-yeon hears a noise and discovers a hidden staircase behind a framed picture that had fallen. She cautiously enters and finds a dark room with a box of miscellaneous objects. Among them is a diary. She opens it to see enigmatic phrases about plagues and demons. She finds a photo of a woman among the pages. The next day, she discovers that the woman is named Oh Young-suk and has a shaman stepmother who owned the house before Seo-yeon's family. Then, Seo-yeon receives another phone call. This time, the young woman is screaming for help, saying that her mother is trying to light her on fire. Dumbfounded, Seo-yeon notices smoke coming from the staircase. She checks it out with a flashlight, stunned to see the steps burning on its own. Seo-yeon concludes that the woman she'd been talking to is Young-suk. Then, she brings up that they might be living in the same house but is calling from different times, with Young-suk calling from the past. Tae-yeon uses the internet to prove her point and predicts a plane crash during Young-suk's time. Unable to believe the entire thing, Young-suk hangs up. However, Young-suk eventually discovers that the plane crash happened just as Seo-yeon predicted. This creates a newfound friendship between them. They spend hours discussing the differences between the 90s and the 21st century. Young-suk ends up talking about her deranged stepmother. She explains that her stepmother has isolated her from the rest of the world all her life. In response, Seo-yeon tells her that her father died when she was young because her mother had left the gas open. After that, Young-suk discovers that Seo-yeon's family will check their property. She quickly calls adult Seo-yeon to allow her to hear her father's voice. Then, Young-suk brings up the idea of stopping the accident from happening. Not long after that, Young-suk runs from home to go to Seo-yeon's house to stop the gas. In the present, adult Seo-yeon notices the burn marks on her legs from the accident starting to disappear. In an instant, the house morphs and reshapes as it burns up in embers. Speechless, Seo-yeon carefully roams around the now new house and goes outside. She goes into the greenhouse to find her parents alive and healthy. Overwhelmed with emotion, Seo-yeon hugs her father tightly. She calls Young-suk and thanks her for saving her father. Their friendship continues to grow as Seo-yeon enjoys her new life. However, things start to turn when Seo-yeon becomes more unavailable for Young-suk's calls. Having spent much time with her family, Seo-yeon slowly needs to answer her friends' calls more consistently. Young-suk eventually becomes upset, feeling like she'd been cast aside. When Seo-yeon finally answers the phone, Young-suk asks why she isn't available but then starts laughing. Seo-yeon joins in, but things turn tense when Young-suk's laughter turns into anger, and she starts screaming and cursing. Young-suk's stepmother takes over the phone and warns Seo-yeon not to call again. In the present, Seo-yeon uses the internet to find more information about Young-suk. Then, she discovers that Young-suk will die because of her stepmother. Immediately, she calls Young-suk and warns her that she might die. Later that night, Young-suk places a decoy on her bed. When she sees her stepmother stab it with a knife, she immediately asks her why. With a stern look, her stepmother explains that she sees many deaths in Young-suk's future. Suddenly, she gasses the room and kills her stepmother with the knife. After that, Young-suk lies to Seo-yeon that she and her mom had a misunderstanding. Not too long after that, Young-suk indulges in food and clothes. She finally gets to explore the freedom she's sought out for years. Soon, she invites Sung-ho into the house as he brings in his strawberry deliveries. However, he discovers bulky objects wrapped in garbage trash bags. He inspects it only to see blood. He quickly screams in disbelief as Young Suk proceeds to end his life. In the present, Seo Yun is enjoying a meal with Sung Ho and her family. Amidst the conversation, some juices of strawberry drip on her coat. Then, she gets another call from Young Suk. This time, all she hears from the other end of the line is Sung Ho screaming as he gets killed. Suddenly, the drops of strawberry on her coat disappear. She hurries downstairs only to find her mother and father eating. When she asks where Sung Ho is, they become confused, as if they've never met him. She quickly runs out to see Sung Ho's strawberry farm in ruins, like it hasn't been touched in decades. When she comes to the police for help, she gets told that Sung Ho had been killed years ago. In the past, Young Suk was visited by 2 police officers to get a witness statement. Although she manages to evade the police's questions, one of the police officers, Baek Mi-yun, grows suspicious. In the present, Seo Yun discovers that Young Suk has done terrible things to Soon-hee. Her fear grows more and more as she realizes that Young Suk is dangerous. Later on, Seo Yun accuses Young Suk of killing Sung Ho and predicts that the police will eventually arrest her. Angered by her fate, Young Suk guilt trips Seo Yun into finding out how the police will find her guilty. Young Suk ends up taunting her as Seo Yun cries in frustration and hangs up. This sends Young Suk on a rampage as she tries to contact Seo Yun repeatedly. Seo Yun tries to continue enjoying her life with her family. Soon, she and her dad go on a driving lesson through a tunnel. However, the stakes grow higher when young Seo Yun and her father knock on Young Suk's door. They explain that they had been waiting for her stepmother. Young Suk tricks them into thinking her stepmother is sleeping and invites them inside. Then, she sprays a fire extinguisher at Seo Yun's father's face. Immediately, the present catches up on the consequences. As Seo Yun drives the car through the tunnel, her father's face slowly breaks into white flakes. Seo Yun screams for her father as the car's windows break into shards of glass. The vehicle suddenly disappears, and Seo Yun is left on the road. She hurries home only to see the house back in its abandoned state. As she picks up an incoming call, Young Suk taunts her about her dad's death and threatens to kill her mother. Young Suk adds that she'll end Seo Yun's younger self's life if she doesn't find out how the police catch her. Frustrated and struck by fear, Seo Yun screams and throws a tantrum. Later, Seo Yun uses the internet to find more information on Young Suk's future arrest. In the middle of her browsing, she sees that there will be a gas explosion in Soon at 5 in the afternoon. Then, she calls Young Suk and sets up a story about a knife that Young Suk had thrown away so she would be caught in the explosion. When Young Suk arrives at Soon, the place explodes as Seo Yun had predicted. As the phone stays silent after 5, Seo Yun becomes relieved, thinking that Young Suk has died. However, the phone suddenly rings, sending a surge of defeat up Seo Yun's spine. When she picks up, she hears her younger self getting taunted by Young Suk. Having survived the explosion, Young Suk is filled with rage, knowing that her friend almost killed her. Young Suk then brings the phone over to boiling peach wood. She explains that peach wood is suitable for cleansing evil spirits. She casually says that she believes that a demon possesses Seo Yun's younger self. Then, she brings the boiling water over to young Seo Yun. Despite Seo Yun's cries for her to stop, Young Suk pours the water on the child. Adult Seo Yun begins to scream in pain as burn marks appear all over her body. As Young Suk finishes torturing her, she simply tells her that she'll kill her mother next. She reveals that it was never Seo Yun's mother's fault for her dad's death, but young Seo Yun left the gas on. In the past, Young Suk eventually finds the knife she'd thrown away and burns it. Meanwhile, young Seo Yun's mother goes to the police to report her missing daughter. As all these events occur, the present rewrites itself so that all traces of Young Suk ever being arrested are erased from history. The house suddenly shakes violently in the present and morphs into a version filled with refrigerators. Shocked and not knowing what to do anymore, Seo Yun runs outside of the house with a police record notebook in hand. Then she notices writings in the notebook stating that Mi-yun and her mother had previously gone to the place. She hurries back inside the house to find the cordless phone to contact her mother in the past. She eventually finds it in the room at the end of the hidden staircase. Meanwhile, in the past, Mi-yun and Seo Yun's mother roam around the area to find anything sketchy. When Seo Yun's mother asks to use the phone, she connects to adult Seo Yun. She quickly warns her mother to get out of the house. Unfortunately, Young Suk manages to kill Mi-yun and runs after Seo Yun's mother. Since she hadn't been arrested, Young Suk, in the present time, managed to hit Seo Yun. They brawl for the phone, knocking things down and getting thrown against a wall. Seo Yun then manages to get the phone, hurries upstairs, and locks herself in a room. At the same time, her mother in the past also locks herself in the same room. Despite Seo Yun's mother's screams for help, Seo Yun uses the phone to try to calm her mother down. As Seo Yun's mother settles down and gets ready to attack Young Suk, she hears young Seo Yun outside the room. She unlocks the door and runs to her crying daughter, casting her weapon aside. Suddenly, Young Suk stabs Seo Yun's mother in the back. Before she could swing at her again, Seo Yun's mother stopped the knife with her bare hands. As she fights for survival, she pushes Young Suk into the room. Unfortunately, after a few moments, Young Suk emerges from the room and is about to strike at young Seo Yun. However, Seo Yun's mother runs toward Young Suk and throws her down to the second floor. The fall kills Young Suk instantly, erasing Young Suk's existence in the present. Seo Yun quickly runs to the hospital to find her mother but only sees a stranger in her mother's bed. She runs to the cemetery when the personnel tells her they don't recall her mother as a patient. There, she finds a grave and falls to her knees. She painfully mourns her loss. However, she suddenly hears her approaching her. As her mother wraps a scarf around her neck, she sees the marks on her mom's neck and hands from when she fought Young Suk. Suddenly, time rewinds to when the present Young Suk called the past Young Suk, warning her that she might die. She notes that they must keep the cordless phone with them even after death because it's the only way they can change the present. The movie ends as Young Suk uses the phone to change the past, removing Seo Yun's mother from the present and dragging adult Seo Yun back to the house to be tortured forever. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this to help the channel out. Have a nice day.